Good morning, everybody. How are you? Thanks so much for watching my little live stream here today. What we're going to do is an interactive theory lesson for an absolute beginner who's never done any theory before. I had a message from my Patreon, Gary, and he said that he has been learning the guitar for ages, 15, 20 years, like a lot of people, but had never really paid any attention to the theory part of the whole shebang. So I wanted to go like three things that I think you should definitely have a go at learning. If you have questions throughout, please do ask. This is the idea. This is an interactive class, and we will see how we go. There's only me here. I don't have a moderator or anything. So if I'm a bit slow to get to your question, I do apologize. I've got a few different things sort of going on, so I will really try and get to your questions as we go. Unfortunately, Gary told me he can't do live because he lives in the UK, so it's like 1,000,000 o'clock there. But hopefully this is helpful to you. All right, so first things first, let's talk about it. We've got to know what the notes are. So it's very important to know what the notes are on the guitar. But before you can learn what notes are on the guitar, you've really got to know what notes there are, right? So first things first, the musical alphabet is exactly like the regular alphabet. It goes A through G, though, right? So if you think of a piano keyboard, you remember like there's black keys, and then every so often there's some gaps, right? And that where there's no black key, right? So how it works is it goes A through G, but there's no note in between B and C, and there's no note between E and F. So that's a really, really easy way to remember what notes there are at the beginning, right? Hey, Jeff, how are you? Thanks for watching. So that's the very, very first thing to check out. So no note between E and F, no note between B and C. Now, that is sounds really easy to get on top of, but you've got to be able to get through the notes just in your head. So A sharp, B, no B sharp, right? Then C sharp, D sharp, E, no E sharp, F sharp, G sharp, back to A. And it just loops. So the other thing I would like you to try and have a go at is when you're a kid at school, you always learn how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you learn the alphabet A, B, C, D, E, but you don't learn E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, blah, blah, blah. To be able to count backwards in the alphabet is actually quite a tricky thing. And it's going to be a really, really useful trick for when you're playing the guitar. Because to know that, you've got an A and then C is here, and then I need to play, let's say, a G. I'm not going to go C, D, E, F, and play G up there. I could just go kind of all G's down here, and kind of backwards in the alphabet, if you know what I mean. All right, so the open strings is the first thing to learn. Now, there's lots of silly little rhymes and stuff. The one I particularly like is Eddie, A, Dynamite, Goodbye, Eddie. It's stupid. It's easy to remember. So we've got E, A, D, G, B, E. Really easy to learn. So just every single time you pick up the guitar before you do a warm-up or whatever to get going with your practice, just do E, A, D, G, B, E. And backwards as well, of course, right? So that you really get a handle on what string is what, right? 6th string is an E, 5th string is an A, and so on. So just to do that in your head whilst you're sitting with the guitar. Every average dummy, Goodbye Ed. I like it. Slightly less violent with the Dynamite, but, okay, so that I found is really, really helpful. Okay. Next thing is, now that you've learned the every average dummy goes by Ed. All right, okay. So first things first, you know the alphabet now. You know the open strings. And so the next thing you've got to know is that every single fret is one semitone. So the distance between one of those notes in the alphabet. So this is E, and then this is F, and this is F sharp, this is G, this is G sharp, and so on and so forth, right? And that's the same on every string. Always goes up by a semitone. So A sharp, B, C, C sharp, okay? So it follows that if you can get a handle on the notes on the guitar, that would probably be pretty useful, right? So a really good way is that most guitars, not Yamahas though, which kind of drives me a bit bonkers, but most guitars have dots at 3, 5, 7, 9, 12. And then that ratio just repeats. So this is the equivalent of 3, 5, 7, 9, right? So if you learn that this is the E string, you probably know that this is a G major chord, right? The lowest note in a G major chord is always a G, unless you're told otherwise. Same with a C major chord. We'll talk about chords as well in a sec, but just first we're doing the notes. So this is a G, right? So we've got G, then this is A, and this is B. So that's pretty helpful to know, right? So G, A, B, G, A, B, and then this is C sharp, right? So if you imagine you want to learn this over the next 5 weeks, learn the E string this week, learn the A string next week. So you G, A, B, C sharp. On the A string, you've got C, D, E, F sharp. And the reason you learn those dots instead of every single thing is that now that you've learned the alphabet, you know that G sharp is next to G, for example. So if you know where G is, then you know where G sharp is. Make sense? All right. So another little trick in there, which actually is pretty awesome, is 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7. You basically got going up a note at a time, right? G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. And then, of course, because of the guitar, the G string stuffs things up. And that's B flat, C, D. This is another D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. But imagine if you learn those notes once, 3 notes in the next 5 weeks, you'd know that, right? So that when you're sitting down, you do your warm-up, whatever it might be. And then you go G, A, B, C, D, E, F, like it's going to be pretty gettable, right? And so, when you come to playing a note up here, you're not always going to be going, okay, well, that's G string, and then this is, it's miles away from G, G, that must be G sharp and all that kind of thing. You could just know that is an E, right? Or alternatively, you go backwards from G. Instead of going forwards from G, go backwards from G. So G, F sharp, F, E, right? So little tricks like that will have a massive impact on your understanding of the guitar. Make sense? Okay, so that is topic number 1, the notes. The next thing is another super basic thing, learning the major scale, right? The major scale is the most important thing in music, full stop. Everything is based on the major scale. How you hear things, if things sound in or out of tune, if, how chords are made, a whole bunch of things like that, right? So let's learn C major. Now, C major is the first key, hasn't got any sharps or any flats, it's all the white notes on a piano, right? So C, that's a C. Familiar, right? Now, C major, got an aeroplane going. I don't know how it's going to go with the aeroplanes. I've got the back door open. It's like 1,000,000 degrees here today. So if it's too loud, I've got a feeling it might be a bit loud. So just bear with me 2 seconds. So I live in Sydney, right near the airport. Anyway, so we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So just having a go at learning that. Right, so that's the first thing. Now, in a Westlife, yes, exactly, Ken. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right, C major. Okay, now, it's important to learn all of those notes everywhere in here, right? Because you're going to know E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah? All that sort of stuff. Now, Major scales. So the major scale is really, like I said, the building block of music. Now, if we think of it as the building block of music, how kind of the beginning of music theory works, or how music theory works, is that every note in that scale is assigned a number, actually. So you'll have seen, A7, or, G major 7, or D sus4, or all this sort of stuff. And those numbers indicate which degree of the scale is being used in the chord, right? So it's important to kind of understand that whatever key you're in, whether it's C or G or A, it's kind of the same thing if you think about the numbers. So in C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, octave, right? Octave. I remember when I was a kid and I was learning this stuff, I kind of learned that this was E and this was E, and it was called an octave apart. And then I counted the frets and I was like, well, there's more than 8 frets. Why is that? Well, why it is the major scale, right? It's 8 steps away, or eight notes away from each other, right? So we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, without going into too much detail here, there is a pattern that applies across every single major scale, and it's worthwhile learning. Now, when I say a pattern, the distances between those notes, C, then C to D is a tone. D to E is another tone, right? So first up, think tone, tone. All right? Oh, by the way, I meant to mention, it's worthwhile having a bit of paper if you want to note some of this stuff down as we go. Or, if you're a digital person, I'm a paper person, but there you go. So tone, tone, and then we get a semitone, right? So tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Now, if you follow that pattern from any point, you're going to play a major scale, right? And that's one of the beautiful things about music, is that, like, this is the rules. It's not like, I did a degree in languages, actually, and it's like, well, the rules are this, unless this. No, these are the rules. That's a beautiful thing about music, is the consistency of the rules. So once you've learned them, that's it. It's not like, I've got to use this word after this word because it's a Monday, or I'm on a train, or, whatever. All these irregular verbs. Oh. Anyway, that's another story. So we've got tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 tone. Sorry, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Right. So wherever you start, let's start here at A. We're going to go tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. A major, right? And so that is always the case, all right? So understanding that pattern, tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, and the fact that each of those stops, if you like, along the way have a number, is of vital importance to understanding how this works, all right? So that's kind of point 2. So number 1, where are the notes? Learn the fretboard, open strings, the dots, G, A, B, C sharp, learn those on every string. There's stuff all over the internet. You could probably just Google notes on fretboard, but don't try and learn every single one, because it will do your head in. Just learn the dots, all right? Okay, next was the major scale. Just learn that C major in the open position. It's going to be a really useful thing. Okay, and tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. All good? Yes, good, good, good. All right, so now, the last thing I want to talk about, the third thing, which I think is like a bite-sized amount of theory that you can learn, Gary, and everybody else, is how those numbers then relate to chords. Because on the guitar, I'd say, 85%, 90% of the time, 95% of the time, you are playing chords. You might be playing a riff, but often you're playing chords, right? Or a kind of combination of chords. G'day, Ted. How are you? You know, you're going to be playing chords of some description. That was an arpeggio, obviously. That's a D major chord, but I just played D major underneath. So you're going to have to sort of understand that chords basically are the numbers. All right. So how you form a chord, and this might be, I remember when I first learned this, it was absolutely, I couldn't believe it. Right. So G. Let's play G. Right. Now, we've learnt the notes on the fretboard now, right? So we're all experts. So we've got G. G, that note is G. That note is B. Then this is D. Then this is G. This is a D, the way I'm playing this G. And then this is G. So we've actually only had 3 different notes there. We've had G, B, and D, right? G, B, and D. Now, let's think about the major scale in relation to those notes. And we have, so in the key of G, we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp. I've got my fingers. And then it goes back to G, right? So what we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. G is 1. A is 2. B is 3. Where are we? C is 4. D is 5. And we had G, B, and D. Okay? So that 1, 3, and 5. Now, it follows that every single chord, every single major chord is made up in the same fashion. Okay? So whether we have C major, so the notes in C major is do on one hand because, you know, it's easier. C, D, E, F, G, 1, 3, and 5. If you look at a C chord, we've got C, E, G, C, E, 1, 3, 5. Right? And it doesn't matter what major chord you have, that is always, no irregular verbs here, that is always going to be the case. Okay? So 1, 3, and 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5. Right? So C, E, G, C, E, G, C, E, G, C, E, G, C, E, G. Right? As far as you can go. All right? So that is quite interesting, right? Because it means that if you go away and you learn all of these different formulas to make the chords, and you know the scale, you know the formula, then effectively you can play any chord ever. And you know where the notes are on the neck. So you know where the notes are, you know how to play the chord, and you know what notes you need in the chord, then it effectively means that your sort of whole knowledge of the guitar is going to be like way better than it was 20 minutes ago, hopefully, right? So that whole kind of concept is a fundamental thing that is worthwhile learning, right? 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, right? Now, yeah, but what about a minor chord or a dominant 7 chord or a sus4 chord or whatever? They all have a formula, a number formula, which relates to the major scale, okay? So if you want to play A minor chord, right? So if we wanted A major, we've got A, B, that's C sharp, remember, tone, 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 so tone, tone, semitone, right? So A, tone, B. B to C sharp is a tone. C sharp to D is semitone. And then E. So we've got 1, 3, 5. A, C sharp, and E. And we can see that when we play an A, we've got A, E, A, brain stopped, C sharp, E. Okay? So the formula or the recipe is 1, 3, 5. Right? My thing I always tell when I'm in a lesson, I always talk about pizza, which always makes people a bit hungry. But if you go and get a margarita pizza, right, that always has the pizza, the tomato, and the cheese. Now, if I want to go and get a margarita pizza and it came with anchovies and olives and ham and salami and whatever, I'd be like, well, what's going on here? I just want the pizza, the tomato, and the cheese. I know some places has basil. I get that. It's a bit fancy. But let's just say it's not fancy, right? You're getting those 3 ingredients, right? It's exactly like a major chord. Now, if I suddenly put an extra note in a major chord, that's a C7, right? What I've added is flat 7, a dominant 7 to that chord, right? Ham and pineapple, lol, yum. Yes, ham and pineapple, I'm not sure about. I generally am a salami and anchovies kind of person because it's all about the fierceness, maybe a bit of chili oil. Anyway, let's not get distracted by talking about pizza. But you see what I mean? So if I've added olives on top of my margarita pizza, I can't sell it as a margarita pizza anymore because I've added olives, right? If you take my elongated metaphor, okay? So all of those chords have a formula, all right? So D sus4, the formula for that is 1, 4, and 5. So in the key of D, we've got D, E, F sharp, G, A. D, 1, 4, and 5, right? The 4 is a G, the 5 is an A. D, A, D, G. Okay. So that kind of learning the formulas is a super, 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 super useful thing, right? So understanding how that works is really, really a critical kind of thing as a guitar player because you play chords pretty much all the time, right? So that kind of idea where you're going to learn those formulas, it'll be really helpful. Because one of the things often I still get, people have taught themselves from the internet a bit and they come in and they're like, oh, I want to learn this song. It goes, whatever. And I say, oh, okay, first up, play a G. And they play a G like this, you see, it's with the open B in there. And I go, oh, actually, in this song, it's this version of G. And they go, well, what do you mean? I thought this was G. And you go, it is. So is this. And then like, well, hang on, you can't have two things being G. But of course you can, because G, B, D. G, G, G. Right? Because we all had G, B, and D, and nothing else. No ham or pineapple, Ted, right? So if you had the ham and pineapple and you'd ordered a margarita pizza, you'd be a bit disappointed, right? So it's the same sort of thing here, right? We just got the extra note. All right. Now, so the chordy stuff, that is how the formulas work and how chords are put together. And you can see that this is not a terribly complicated thing. It's actually pretty easy to understand. And with just a bit of effort, a bit of rote learning, you can learn all this sort of stuff. So you can learn all the different formulas and you can learn all the different keys just by writing them out over and over again or however you want to do that. But you can really get on top of this theory situation pretty quickly, right? I mean, as in, it's not going to take you a year. G'day from Boston. It's still Saturday night here. I know. We are literally living in the future here in Australia. It's awesome. And yes, so that whole idea of knowing the formulas and then seeing how the keys go. Now, the final thing I want to cover today, this has been a lot of information. So if you have any questions afterwards, put them in the comments, rewatch it, whatever. If I can help in any way, please just ask. Okay. The last thing is, like every single major scale, there are chords associated with all of those keys. You might have wondered why, every time I learn a song, it goes G and then there's an E minor in it and a D. Right? It's funny that these chords are associated together, right? Like how many songs do that? G, D, E minor, C. Right? There are a lot of songs that do that, right? And why is that? All those chords are in the same key, right? If I play G, D, E minor, and then G flat / F sharp, major, whatever you want to call it, you can hear that something feels a bit weird there, right? And that's because the notes in this chord, F sharp, C sharp, right? A is in the key G, right? But F sharp is, but that C sharp is not, right? So in the key, how it works is, if you know, for example, G major, is the notes in G major are G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, right? The first chord, G major. The second chord of G major is A minor, then B minor, then C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished. That's another story for another time. And then back to G major. If I play them together, G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E, F sharp, F sharp diminished, and then back to G, you can hear they all kind of go together, even the F sharp, right? And that's because all of those chords only have constituents from G major in them, right? Do you get what I mean? So the notes in C major, C, E, and G, they are all in G major. The notes in D major, D, A, F sharp, they are all in G major. The notes in E minor, E, B, G, are all in G major, right? To do a playing for a change type of thing. a playing type of thing. Well, suggest to me, what kind of playing sort of thing do you mean? Get back to me. I'm going to carry on this. This is quite good, isn't it? So those chords, let's do some playing, right? Think of Here, Then, Everywhere by the Beatles, right? It goes G, C, A minor, right? They're all just in order. G, A minor, B minor, C major. It's pretty neat, okay? Like a Rolling Stone, how's that go? Used to be the time, didn't you? C, we've got, remember that pattern. Patterns are good to know. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, always. So C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major. Used to be a time. Alright, they're just in order. Mate, how easy is this? Right? So it's kind of amazing that those chords, if you know those chords, then of course, then it opens up a whole nother thing where you can learn songs pretty easily. Because like if you learn that you're in the key C and you're like, okay, let's have a think. Okay, Let It Be by the Beatles, right? I know how it goes already. I know the chords. It's in C. So I don't know if you've got a guitar handy, but play a C. Right. When bum bum bum. Next bit goes. Times of trouble, right? Think about what chords it could be. So we're in the key of C. So does it sound like it goes to a minor chord or a major chord? Let's try a minor chord in that key. So we've got C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, C. La 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 la. Doesn't feel right. La 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 la. Sounds like it goes down. No. No. G. Let's try a G. Right. A la 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 G. Right. Oh, that feels right. Okay. It was a major chord. So we had two other choices. Da, 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 we could have gone to an F, or we could have gone to a G. It's only G. Wah, 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 wah. Right. Then it sounds like it goes up. Na, na, na. Right. If you think of the piano line, it goes up one. What have we got? G. After G in C major is... Answers on a postcard. Somebody going to answer me? Let's find out. What comes after G in C major? I need some quiz music. Come on. Think of the people on replay, what comes after G in the key of A major? Come on. Okay, I'm going to jump in. G, it goes A. All right, now, if we think about those chords, C major, D major, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, right? C, D, E, F, G, A. Let's try A minor. Oh, look, it's right. So, da-dum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, la, la, la. Anchovies, yes, exactly. La, 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 la. So, we've only got one major chord left that we haven't played already, right? C, D minor, E minor, F, right? It's kind of incredible, right? So we've got C, da, 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 A minor, F, da, da, right? So you can see that knowing this chord scale malarkey is going to be a helpful thing. Now, if it sounds like it's out, imagine if it went da 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 ba dum bum ba dum ba dum ba bum bum. Obviously, it doesn't do that. That's a B flat major, right? You can hear that it's not in key. Right, it's quite nice, but it's not in key. Right? So that is the chord scale thing. So to wrap it up, whilst I'm wrapping up, if you have any questions, put them down and I'll answer them straight away as I talk, blah, blah, blah. So the first thing we spoke about was the notes. So the notes, learn the notes, learn the alphabet first. It's another airplane. Learn the notes first. So there's no B sharp and there's no E sharp. I mean, in the academia of music there are, but just for our purposes, there is not. Okay, so no B sharp, no E sharp, but there's everywhere else there is a sharp, right? The thing I should have mentioned is that, you know, like C sharp and D flat are the same thing, right? You understand that? So C and D, and there's a note in between. So if we're going from C to C sharp, going semitone, well, we could go D down a semitone to D flat, right? And the name that you call it depends on what key you're in. Again, conversation for another time. So C, what are we talking about? Oh, yes, the notes. So learn the notes. Know that, you know, and be able to count backwards in the notes as well. So, you know, be able to go G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, blah, 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 because that's a helpful trick when you're kind of thinking about this stuff. All right. Next thing, we're going to learn the dots on the fretboard. So G, A, B, C sharp, for example. Learn all the dots, right? G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, right? That's pretty cool. Okay, and then next one, major scale. It's a building block of everything. You've got to learn how it is. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, right? So, and that works always, right? Right? And we learned that, you know, if you follow that pattern, it's always going to be a major scale. Then we associated those notes with numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Octave. All right. So numbers. Okay, and then the final thing were chords and how they're put together. We spoke about pizza and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully that helps you. So in this key of C, C, E, G, 1, 3, and 5. That's how you make a major chord. If we wanted to make a minor chord, we need 1 minor third. So if it's, for example, C major, we've got C, E, but we need to make that flat. So a minor third. So that would be E flat, right? And then G, C, E flat, G, C minor. Awesome, huh? Okay, and then the chord scale. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, back to major. And that will help you learn loads of songs. There you go. So that is it for today. I really hope that helped. Thanks, Gary, for your question. I hope this really helps you out with the whole, you know, getting my head around theory. Those are 3 absolutely fundamental things I think you can learn to really get on top of this stuff. All right. So, Ted, I'd be happy to hear from you if you wanted to know about some kind of playing thing. Always open to that. Just I had a question. This is generally a Patreon question thing, but I'll take your question. How about that? Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. To support the channel, go to patreon.com/Simon Morel. Let's put that up here. Can I do that? Yes, I can. Look at that. Where you can ask a question, get access to extra lessons with me directly, access to my chart library, all those sorts of things. It is really happening over there. There's 75 members, 76 members, I think, this morning. So that's pretty exciting. Meanwhile, do subscribe here at Simon Morel Guitar here on YouTube. There's 2 lessons every single week. I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Like I said, any other questions, just put them in the comments and I'll answer them after I've had my lunch. I'll see you later. Thanks very much. Bye. Bye-bye.